Alrighty, life in the city during the Industrial Revolution. Now, if you're living in the city during the Industrial Revolution, odds are you're going to be living in a tenement. Now, a tenement is a small, poorly built apartment building. Now, remember from the previous lesson, we're talking about no real building codes. That's going to be leading to the rise of these tenements. Now, here's what a tenement's going to look like. Okay, you can see this right through here. You're going to have these series of buildings built just one after another. It's going to be 87 feet long. This exact example you have right through here. You can see the stairs coming up. You're going to see a number of small little rooms. Now, depending on how much money you are making, depends on how many rooms you are going to be owning. Most families would have one or two, but often it would not be uncommon for a whole family to be living into a single room. Now you can see the size of these rooms right here. The largest room is going to be 11 feet by 14 feet, so not very large at all. You're going to be crammed into this tiny little room. You might have a fire escape if you are lucky. If not, the building burns on fire, you're kind of just out of luck. Now, problem with so many people living in such a tiny little area is sickness is going to spread. Okay, if one person gets the flu in your room, you are stuck with that person. You are probably also going to get the flu. And flu is going to be one of the better things you could get because cholera is going to sweep through the slums, okay? It is just going to go like the Death Eaters in Harry Potter, going from one place to another, okay? The cholera is going to sweep through the slums, getting a number of people sick because they have nowhere to go. The lifespan in 1942 for working class people living in the city is simply 17 years. That's the expected average lifespan. Now, you're going to have people who are going to live much above that. You're also going to have people who are going to live much less than that. When you factor those two together, the average is about 17 years compared to living in rural areas where it's only 38 years. Now, you're probably thinking, why in the heck would you move to the city when you could be living in the rural area and live almost twice as long? Now, the reason for this is because the quality of life can be much greater. You have more opportunity living in the city than you do living in the rural areas, living on the farm. Okay, you can make more money and you have that chance to grow and prosper and develop where you don't have that necessarily in the rural areas. It's about leading a better life for your children, trying to make that money, which you cannot make very easily in the rural areas. Now, I'm going to show you some pictures of the tenements. You see this one right through here. Poorly built building, quickly thrown together because you have so many people as a result of urbanization moving into the city. You need to quickly get a building put up. You're going to put these up right here. You're going to see the laundry strung across because you got to have a place to dry your laundry. They're poorly built, they're dirty, and they're cramped, and they're not a real ideal place to be living. Right here, you can see the inside of one of these tenements. Right through here, this entire family is going to be living in this tiny little room. Off to the left part of that picture, you can see the cook stove right through there, which is where you're going to heat your apartment through there. It's also going to be what you're using for food. You're going to be using that to cook. You can see the beds right through there. Not a lot of storage rooms, so you really cannot have very many things. You can't have very many clothing, anything like that, and you're all going to be cramped into this little area. So imagine if you get sick of your brother or your sister, you have nowhere to go, okay? If you're lucky enough right now, you probably don't have to share a room with them, but you are stuck with them. Right now, there is nowhere to go. So you can understand how miserable it would be to live in a tenement like this. Now, what is life like in the factory? Life in the factory is going to be either 14 to 16 hour shifts. So you are working a very, very long time, and you are working up to 6 days per week. You'll probably get Sunday off. This is primarily due to the large people coming over from the different Europe when it comes to the United States or into England, where they're Christian and they want that day off for church. So they're going to be having that day off for church, and that's pretty much it. You're going to have 6 days of working per week, 14 to 16 hours. So you are exhausted, which is going to cause other problems. Factories are not well lit, which is causing a number of issues as well. You can't really see what you're doing. If you're working with heavy machinery and you can't see what you're doing, you can see how that could lead to some other problems. Machines are going to injure workers on a regular basis. At this time period, the company that owns the factory and owns those machines is not responsible for you. So if you happen to get your arm cut off in a machine, you don't have anything like workers' comp where the factory is going to pay for your medical bills. You simply lose your arm. You have to pay for the medical bills as a result of that as well. And if you can't keep up with the work, you could easily lose your job. Injured workers get no help from the government as well. So the government is not going to step in and help you out. You are simply out of luck at this time period. Coal mines are the most dangerous, and that's going to be common at this time period. You need coal to burn for making electricity, for one. It's also going to be used to burn to power those steam engines as well. Now, coal mines are dangerous because, number one, the frequent accidents that happen in there. You are underground. There are explosives. You can have cave-ins. You can have fires. A number of different things right through there. They are damp and dirty, so you are sitting there constantly breathing in this cold, damp air. If you work in the coal mine, you're going to have a shorter lifespan, and women and children are often going to take jobs in the coal mines as well, or working in these kind of different things because they are cheaper labor. You don't have to pay women the same amount you're going to be paying a man at this time period, which is going to be happening. We're going to hire women simply because you don't have to pay them as much. And always in every business, your workers are going to be the largest amount of cost you have. Children are also going to be taking jobs because, number one, their parents need the money coming in. Number two, there isn't really public schooling around at this time period, so there's nowhere for the kids to go. Number three is they are cheap labor, so people are willing to hire them. Additionally, children are small, so you can use them in the coal mines because they can go in locations that a full-grown man could not go. Cheap labor causing a number of different issues right through there. Questions, comments, put them down below. Otherwise, good luck.